All right, I got a good treat for you today, an extended talk about the fundamentals of marketing. Now, I was asked by a local high school to talk to their juniors and seniors, and so I put together a presentation that's a really good starting point, really for anybody, including business owners and especially plumbing business owners. Now, this talk is in person and live, so if you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch it and see the slides and the videos, but I think it's a pretty decent audio experience too if you are, I don't know, in a van, doing jobs, working with your family or whatever, like things that your life needs. So I hope that there's some golden nuggets in here that you can take forward, apply to your business so you can grow. Let's get right into it. The Mammoth podcast with Tyler Williams, the marketing man. Well, hello, everybody. So, okay, cool. You guys can see that? Okay? Okay. Because I got slides, and some of them have fun stuff, some of them are boring, but it's business. You get to do both. So, okay, I have a quick question. Who here is like considering marketing as something that they're eyeballing as something to go into? 1, 2. Who here is considering any sort of media creation as something to go into? Okay, now also the marketing people, raise your hand. Okay, there's enough of you. Cool. This will be useful, hopefully. If it's not, tell my dad. It's his fault. So, okay, this is the only real photo of me in this entire presentation. The rest are all fake because I'm testing out a bunch of AI things, and you guys got to help me do that. So I'm going to blaze through some of how marketing kind of fits in the business world and some of like how I interact with it. I 100% want to be able to answer questions if you guys have questions, though. So, because there's so much I could have covered, there's so much left unturned in any presentation about what I do, because that rabbit hole goes deep. There's like the business side, there's the creative side, there's the production side, there's the like building reports side, which some people love. I have them on my crew because I didn't like it. But let's give you guys a little bit of intro of who I am, where I came from. So I was born here, raised here, and I put 2 apostrophes in the word I'm, which tells you a lot about my education growing up. But I also made this very quick. So I started marketing in 2004, like almost fresh out of high school. I was ripping windshields out at a local place in town and replacing them. And then the guy who was my manager was like, "You like to make videos. You should, I don't know, go talk to the local like advertising agency guy." And I did. And that gave me enough gusto to be like, well, now I'm going to start looking for a job. And I found a job at an agency that happened to go to a friend of mine. And he was like, "I don't want it, but I know a guy who does." And he sent them to me, or sent me to them. And then they hired me because I was willing to work for cheap because I wanted a foot in the door. Don't necessarily recommend you do that, but it definitely helped me do what I did. So I wanted to make movies. I didn't want to do marketing. Nobody goes like, "I want to help businesses get bigger." No, I want to tell stories. I enjoyed media like crazy. I was doing it in high school. I was making videos on like a little Super 8 camcorder that my parents had. So I settled for making ads because it got my hands on the tools and it got my hands on better tools. So then I was building this lexicon of skills around media, and I got to toy around with it. So went to the agency. A little bit later, I went freelance. I was like, cool, I want to do this on my own because they hired a creative director and he and I didn't get along, which is weird, but that was good for me because then I was able to basically blast off and do it the way I wanted to. And then I got my knees knocked out from under me because what you want doesn't matter when you're trying to sell it to somebody else. So I ended up learning a lot about customer service and how to like adjust my expectations around the work I was doing, because ultimately, even now, I run an agency that serves other businesses. It's their money, they pay for it. So we do our best to serve them while guiding them and counseling them along when they are about to make mistakes. But so then I went back into agency life, and for a different agency, ended up buying it. That was about 10 years ago. Renamed it Mammoth Marketing because no one knows how to spell Pneumoth. And then I made a pretty big shift. We turned it into a digital agency, which all of you can, how many of you have turned on the TV to watch broadcast television in the past year? Oh, good. I made a good move. All right. So, how many of you have opened your phone and seen an ad from the internet? Awesome. I made an even better move. Cool. That's why. Media habits change, media habits evolve. And so the agency had to change. Then I made another move. We used to serve Fairbanks and Anchorage, sort of statewide, a lot of work for the university and things like that. And if you guys check out like if you go and search for me online, you'll be like, why does this guy talk about plumbers like crazy? It's because now that is my primary demographic that I ended up going, I don't want to try and serve everyone. I want to try and serve a very specific kind of business extremely well. And it ended up being plumbers. How many of you have heard of Prospector Plumbing in town? How many of you seen their vans? Oh, pretty much everybody who said I've heard of them. Yeah. So that is my brother's company, or was. He recently sold it for $5 million, and now he lives in Florida. But what happened is he said, I want to go out on my own. I said, cool, let me do the marketing. He was like, awesome. Yeah, because I don't know anything about marketing. And I said, one caveat. I control the creative, at least for the first couple years. He was like, okay. So what you see Prospector as is largely built on the back of that initial effort. Now, I don't want to say it was all me. It was my crew behind me. We all worked together to make it what it is. And then we just shotgunned it out into the market so he could have a real live business and retire. He's still doing other things, to Florida at the age of 39. So that's what business can do. But that's an example of what I do now, is I just serve the plumbers. So we have about 55 clients over the United States and Canada. Also, there's spelling error on state. Turns out there's more than one, and you have to be more than one if you're going to be united. So over the years, we've served 200 businesses. There's a lot that has come. Some people are with us for a long time, some people for a short time. Sometimes marketing doesn't work the way you intend, even if it's best laid plans. Sometimes it works great. So I have also read many fine business books and gotten all of their acknowledgments. But one thing you'll know about business books is rarely does anybody ever implement the things that they learn out of a business book. How many here have ever read a marketing or business book? What book? Okay, that's okay. Do you remember what book? Probably Marketing for Dummies. That's a good one. So I think I have that on my shelf at home. So, all right. So we're going to sort of take this as though you started a business, because you guys, a big chunk of you, are looking at you have to create an ad campaign, right? Am I right in this? Okay, I see a couple nods. So first lesson of business is it's designed to make money. So making money is okay. There's some psychological things that happen with people sometimes where they structure their business to not make money. You got to watch out for that, because you need the money to pay for the marketing, to be perfectly frank. There is a big difference, and I think you guys should know this, between a service business and a product business. They both ultimately serve something, but I provide services, McDonald's provides food. That's their product, okay? So my services are ongoing management or tasks that happen over and over that help businesses, which would be plumbing companies or other service-based businesses. But then you have the whole world of e-commerce. I don't know that much about e-commerce. It's a whole nother world. So if you are going for product in the ad campaign that you are trying to develop, keep in mind that you're going to have some things to think about that I might not cover. But it'll still help, I hope. So some of this is about business stuff. For those of you who are interested in business at all, you have to build the business to be able to pay for the marketing. So if you sell something, you have to go, how much of the money I made, does that go to operations? Does that go into expenses, things like that? And that's why you have a percentage for your marketing budget. Boom. Then you have a amount of money that you can spend on marketing. And that money can go towards anything of advertising, which you guys are probably all well aware of, but it also might need to go to a sign or a uniform or a business card or a flyer, like things that you might not think are marketing right off the bat, but because they're visible and they enhance the customer experience, they do. So most businesses, they just aren't good in the first year, so you just keep failing until you stop failing. And then you get some successes. But the trick is just not stop, to be honest. Okay. Does anybody have like what they need to build an ad campaign like in their head? Can you tell me what it is?
It's basically this ice tray that creates eyeball-shaped ice cubes.
Eyeball-shaped ice scoops? Yes. For ice cream?
No, for like drinks.
Just for drinks? Okay, and they're going, okay, cool. So there comes a point when you're creating an ad campaign, you can make it about the thing, right? But who's going to need the thing? Do you know that yet? First thing I think of is bars and restaurants, because then you get to sell it in mass. Then you can sell it multiple times, sometimes multiple times to the same person over and over again. They have a business that generates revenue. Otherwise, it's going to be something that is a nice to have for a residential like homeowner, right? Like for just your average user. And you might serve both. But now the question and what you kind of have to define is, out of those two possibilities, if you want to go what's called B2B, business to business, or you want to go business to consumer, which one do you market to? Starting. You might have two completely different messages for each one, right? So if it's something where it's like, hey, you can make 1,000 ice cubes in an hour, or it's like, look at our niche little like ice cube tray, one would serve like your average person and one would serve a business owner. So your eyeball-shaped ice cubes is basically what they are. That sounds fun. Halloween would do gangbusters, right? So then you have seasonality to think about. So what you do is you define who it is that you actually want to market to, and you actually say, okay, what's their name? Where do I find them? Where do they spend their time? That's a big one. So where do you guys see ads? Throw out some things. YouTube, Instagram, buses, Pinterest, everywhere on social media. You want to know why? Social media is designed for guys like me to buy ads. So then you have to do a cross-reference of like, would you be in market to buy the eyeball ice cube maker machine? And if you are, then there's a possibility that if you're on Pinterest, yeah, then go ahead and buy that inventory and see if you can get sales out of it. But you have to match, because marketing becomes this like seeking. And I kind of go into that in a little bit here. But what you do is you build the customer avatar and you really define the person. What do they like? What don't they like? What are their pain points that your product solves? For the eyeball ice cube machine, which is, I love that this is such a weird example, but like that would essentially add maybe some stickiness or some flavor to a restaurant or a party that you're hosting. What you're doing is you're solving a problem for somebody. So you're able to go, I'm going to use that pain point as the root of my message. Okay? And then you've done that by defining your avatar really intently. Then you've got to go, okay, where do I serve? So you're small and the world is big. Like, you've got to understand how many customers that you need to get to the goal in your business. That's part of the marketing step, and a lot of people don't realize that business planning is part of what marketing is. But it is, because if you want to sell 1,000 of those at, let's say, $100, and you know how many customers come out of your first run of campaign, you can then reverse engineer how many customers do I have to sell to in order to get my business to the next step so I can do the next thing I want to do, because business has always got something in like coming up. So then you can say, well, if it costs me, let's say you're selling it for $100, let's say it costs you $50 to get a customer. That's 50% of your revenue from that item. Each sale goes, that's towards the customer. Well, now You're like, well, I got to sell 1,000 of these. If all the metrics work out, there's a lot of math involved, simple math, but still math. Then you get to go, okay, I need to spend $10,000 on ads within the next month to meet the metric if my metrics hold true. And sometimes you put that $10,000 into play and you're like, awesome, it worked. This is amazing. And it worked better than you thought. Turns out it only costs you $25 for every customer. Well, then there's also the times where you're like, oh no, it actually cost me $100 per customer and the item costs $100 and now all my operating expenses are actually putting me into debt. This happens, this is normal. You have to readjust your business to now that you have data. A lot of the early days of marketing is, well, let's throw it out there, see what happens. So you start with little experiments and then you build from there. Okay, marketing evolves. So like we already saw, TV, radio, this stuff moved, right? People aren't using that anymore. But now, yeah, don't try and read the tablets. They are gibberish. That is the curse of AI. But marketing is going to move and it's going to change over time. So anything that you guys are doing now, you might not be doing in 2 years in the same way, or the platforms have adjusted and shifted and now your marketing has to change along with it. This happens all the time to us. So the best thing I can tell you, if you're interested in marketing, be nimble, very nimble. Pick up skills, watch as new things happen, evolve with them, and just try and go, well, this is the big problem in the business area that I'm trying to solve. So I'm going to learn how to do that in this new zone. So let's see. There's a lot of other stuff in here. These are like a collection of slides from other presentations. So some of this is like directly to business owners. But trial and error, start with the basics, be consistent, and never stop selling. A lot of people will market a little bit today, and then they won't market because sales were good. I don't need to market anymore. Except general awareness on a thing decays. If your business goes dark, somebody else could be marketing to that person and you lose the customer. So you don't want to be up and down with marketing a lot. You try and stabilize according to what you're doing. So when you launch marketing, typically you go through different phases with business growth, and these are like the 5 phases that I see with plumbers at least, right? For other businesses, they're gonna be similar but a little bit different, so keep that in mind. You start with foundations, which is like, okay, hey, I have a place. I have my social profiles, I got my website, I got my URL, I got my name. Then you start with basically like beacons, where you're like starting to do everything you can without spending money, because early days of business, you don't have any revenue, to get the word out. This is a lot of like calling people or boots on the ground or, you know, walking your ice cube machine into 100 restaurants and saying, I've got something to show your ice person. Like, let's go ahead and see if they like it, right? And that gives you a bunch of feedback. After you start like making some sales and the business starts to prove itself out, then you start expanding with ads. And the seeking is where you're trying to drive people more to you when they need you. And then nurturing people down the back end of the marketing. Nurture happens after a sale. When we say marketing, most people go like, oh, I'd post things on social, I'd run ads, and then I get a sale. You got a customer journey on the back end of everything that you've done. So you can turn them into testimonials. You can show them, well, it's eyeballs today, but what if it's, I don't know, brains tomorrow, right? So boom, you have a follow-up product that you can offer them. And oh, turns out every month you come out with a new mold for your ice cube machine, and then you give it to somebody, and now you have a reselling pattern on the back end of your customer base, and your customer base keeps rising because your marketing's working. Which means the back end also starts generating more money. Next thing you know, you have money coming in, but your business grows, and then you start, there's a lot of like business stuff about like staying within margins and evolving with it. That's all sort of other stuff. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper into the foundations. These are the things that you kind of need to do early because you can't market without these things. You need to have a name, you need to have a phone number, URL, website, business listings, all these things. And this is all about making it so that way you can be found. Because if I'm standing here and I'm like, hey guys, my name is Tyler Williams. I run a marketing agency called Mammoth Marketing. And then I'm gone. I'm out the door. And you're like, man, I want to find out more. If I didn't have a website, what would happen? Dead end. So you have to put these things in place. You have to be able to be found. That's one of the first things to do. Then you start getting into, like I told you, interacting in social media groups, doing social content yourself, talking to local businesses, neighborhood events, like whatever. This is tuned for plumbers, so keep in mind that not all this would apply to some of this. But the idea is, what can you do for free to get attention on yourself and what you're selling? Then you go into expansion. I like to call this tapping on the shoulders. Ignore like LSA, it's a special kind of advertising, or like this is really where ads come in, where you would do YouTube videos, TikTok, you would put in all these things to try and get more attention. And then after that, this is what I tell the plumbers, then you start running more expensive versions of marketing to layer on, so that way if somebody was looking for what you had, you're going to capture them, because that is a much more expensive way to get a customer. Marketing has different levels of expense for how your tactics work. There's a lot of deep stuff in here over like making sure you're tracking marketing and things like that. I'm not going to get into all that. I get into that on my website and my YouTube channel if you guys ever want to go in through that stuff. Here, you don't really need to. But then the nurture's the back end, the long tail. So, which is why there's a skeleton. You have to be a part of the world that you serve. So if you have an ice cube machine and you've got these swapping out molds, well, one of the best things you can do on the back end and the longer tail is more brand awareness. So go to trade shows, write a book about how to throw a party with the world's best ice cubes, right? Give that book away at trade shows. Make blog content about the same stuff, right? But essentially, you have to become a ice cube connoisseur. Can you do that? So there's things that you start putting, like ads run. That's not the only thing that will build a company. There's other forms of marketing getting the word out. You want to try and leverage that. One thing I don't do for plumbers is also influencer marketing. Have you guys ever heard that term? Do you know what that is? Essentially, sounds like you got an idea. You want to try and explain it?
It's when you use influencers or celebrities to market your product.
Yeah, so here's an interesting one. One of the concepts that came up when we were trying to push prospector plumbing into the community, and it's very local centric, right, is, okay, we need more customers. Okay, we can run ads, which is ultimately what we ended up doing. But one fascinating little tidbit came up, which is at the time, Jim Matherly was our mayor, who happens to be a local DJ who's done a ton of weddings and events. And guess what? I know Jim well enough to where I could call him up and be like, can I pay you to post about Prospector Plumbing? Because he has a massive social following for Fairbanks, at least, right? So that's another way I could have gotten the word out. Technically, it's still paying for advertising, but it's under the guise of a term called influencer marketing, because you're inserting yourself into their audience. He has a little pocket of a platform that we can tap into, and sometimes that can be cheaper than buying ads. Turns out it wasn't, so we didn't. Well, I didn't really ask him. I should probably call him and be like, if this was a concept, how much would you have cost? So the other thing about marketing is it takes time. If you guys ever go into business and you start a business, don't expect to like open the floodgates of money and dollars shall rain forth. It takes time and effort and experimentation and data and a lot of wrong moves before you get to the right moves. That's normal. A lot of people get discouraged when they go into business. I talk to them usually at the discouraging point, and I'm like, oh, I wish you knew that this is just part of the process. For those of you who are really truly getting into marketing, this is really important. To give you an idea, this is how much it costs on Google search to get a plumbing customer. This is the top one. I left this in here because a lot of people talk to you about creative, and I will, because it's my favorite part. But the customers need to know how much money they're making. And so it does become about data and about cost for customers. So what this is we're just going to concentrate on the top line of things. Plumbing services is an ad campaign on Google search. It spent $93,000 in a month. It got 829 conversions, which is people contacting the company. Out of those 829 conversions, 45% of them got booked for a consultation or got an appointment, right? But only 17% or 18% actually became a customer. There's a massive amount of fall off, right? You advertise to thousands, you collect on hundreds. That's normal, which is why you got to go way big with your advertising spends, bigger than people expect. Because you have to, one day, like, okay, I'm talking to you guys now. In 5 years, some of you may have businesses, but there's what? I don't know, 40-ish of you here. I didn't count. Chances are there probably won't be anybody that I actually serve down the road unless you really want to do a plumbing company, right? But like there's always a chance that one of you goes like, I want to do a plumbing company. I'm going to go talk to that Tyler guy in 5 years when you're like ready to do it. That's normal. But the more you cast your net, the more fish you pick up over time. Although I'm doing this because I really like marketing and I want to see more people go into it. So the numbers with marketing are important. They need to be tracked. I used to not think so, but changed my tune as I got better at marketing. Now, okay, let's go back to the ice cube example. Let's say you go to market in Fairbanks. You're like, this is my geography, this is my test market, I'm just gonna go out. Cool. You have this ice cube machine. Now, what if, I don't know, there's 10 other people also doing the same thing? There's 10 plumbers in town, easy, right? So competition, anytime you have competition, they're gonna be sucking some of the air out of the room. So you have to think about, if they aren't going to pay attention to me, they're paying attention to the next guy. How do I garner more attention than them? You could pay to be there. You could also be creative. Okay. With creative and marketing, repetition is massive to the impact that you're going for. So that's why you need lots of hits. Used to be in radio and TV days, it was like 5 to 7 times you want to reach a person in order to get into what you call consideration. That's where they know that you do what you do, and when they have a need, they may call you. I think on digital, it takes 15 to 30 within a month. Like that is the difference, because what do you guys do when you see an ad? Oh, yeah, right? So I better grab your attention immediately, which is super hard to do, or I show up more times than you care to see me. And I'm just like, hey, you see me again? You see me again? See me again? And a lot of people will cry, ad fatigue. I'm getting tired of this. I don't want to. It doesn't matter. As long as you know who I am, what I do, I win the battle of attention. I don't know why that's, okay, impact is made by being different. So there was one guy in another color of a shirt. What color? Yeah, okay. Here's another question. Well, okay, hold on. That's right. This is the point. Bold visuals make you memorable. All of you saw the orange guy, but if I said, what were the guys in the black shirts doing? You would be like, I don't know. It's because he took the air out of the room when it comes to attention. Did somebody mention a hat? Okay. So apparently I have duplicate slides. Oh, I forgot to ask the question. Darn, I screwed that up. The question was, where's the guy with the hat? And last time I did this, people couldn't tell me where the guy with the hat was because they were focused on the orange guy. When you're not bold enough, it doesn't work. You just become part of noise. So, do you have a question? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Say that last part louder.
So when you're marketing, do you think it's more effective to just kind of
Okay, I'm going to reiterate this for people. Do I think that it's better for hitting people over and over and over again, or have something truly captivating, right? This is an interesting conundrum and a question I get asked a lot. But the answer is nuanced, because what you're asking for is how much attention and how much recall am I actually generating? And there's different levels of how many times am I hitting you versus how many times am I not, or how deep of an impact does my truly captivating thing leave? And that's going to vary from person to person, right? Because you and I have different life experiences. So here's my problem. People chase being captivating and then they never make it because it is very, very hard to do. I think the best thing is to try and be captivating while maintaining your rule of frequency. So you keep hitting them over and over and over, and you do your best with the workload that takes to be as captivating as possible to essentially improve the efficacy, the effectiveness of those ads, right? Because really what you're trying to do is you're trying to move psychological profiling in head. That's a good question though. Okay, now we get to the fun stuff. Speaking of being captivating, you got to ride your weirdness into the sunset. Honestly, no one in business gets ahead by looking just like everybody else. The only time that works is if you're the only one in market. So the louder you shout into the void of customers, the better chance of you actually being used as a business. So I'm a big fan of being weird on the internet, which we try with our customers. So I'm going to show you some old ads just because I knew where they were. This is an ad I made for Prospector Outfitters. How many of you guys have been inside a Prospector? Cool. Yeah, they sell boots, socks, stuff like that. Before we made the move to Plumbers, they were a client for 15 years. So one time they were like, hey, we have a sale. We need to, this one isn't even for a sale, but my job was to make a TV ad. But I didn't want to just make a TV ad because everybody makes TV ads. So I made this instead.
I only have one rule in my life: do everything to the absolute best, even if it's just for me. That's why I shop at the Prospector, because when work needs to get done, or I'm living like the Alaskan I am, they have what I need to be the best. With brands I love, they outfit me with quality clothes for whatever I put in front of me, so I can work harder, play longer, or finally relax and be my own absolute best. When you live in Alaska, you shop at the Prospector.
Okay, so what I did was I took the message and I tried to do it in a captivating manner. Everybody else was like, come here, we sell shoes, socks, boots, and coats, and we have Carhartt. And I will tell you, the brands being showcased was purely because the owner thinks that's a good idea. I don't, but it's his business, so I put that in. But what you want to do is you want to take whatever you're selling and find an interesting wrapper for it. What I tell people about creativity and marketing is you have a core called your product or your service. You wrap your creativity around it. What some people try and do is they're like, man, I got this really cool idea for an ad, and they have a creative core and they try and wrap their service around it. But the problem is once you get through the outer shell, there's nothing there of substance for the actual customer. A lot of people do this backwards. So start with what you know you have, which is a product or a service, and then you twist its message to the point where it's more fun to pay attention to. So, by the way, that ad was complex. Trying to get the guy on screen 3 times with a bag moving and things coming out of it. It took us a lot of trial and error. We set up a table at the office and just shot that and ran some tests. And Wayne was always, sadly he passed away, but Wayne was always really good at following direction and helping with these concepts. It was a ball. All right, I got another one. Has anybody seen this ad? Okay, yeah, I mean, this is back in TV days. I don't make these anymore.
You are Alaskan. We know because your beard is amazing. You don't need wheels because you ride the bus, and it means freedom. Freedom to text flannel selfies. Freedom to nap. It means real-time bus tracking. Stops all over town with sweet logo signage, and animals thank you regularly. Your driver has an amazing beard because he's Alaskan too. Max Transit is your Alaskan bus, the alternative to driving yourself.
So, again, you got a question? Say that again. No, I didn't do the voiceover myself. I hire people to do voiceovers. Yeah, I did. So, yeah, because I had a specific tone in mind, and especially then, we didn't have things like 11 Labs where I could pop my voiceover and say, I want a voice like Sam Elliott, the cowboy guy, and it just changes it, right? So for me, whenever I'm writing, whenever I'm crafting an ad, the pacing is super important. So, and I find it's really hard to hand that off to somebody. That might be me as a director.
How do you compensate, and like how are you changing your company based on the new AI?
A lot.
Like, for example, if you're doing AI with a slideshow,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be easier just to like in the future or like right now just like make an ad and tell AI to do the ad, or you tell or give you ideas for the ad, right?
So I view AI, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more because I have another AI example. I view AI like Photoshop. When before Photoshop, you had to use a darkroom and you had to know your stuff with chemicals and all this, right? And then Photoshop came out and you had a lot of photographers saying, well, it's not real art, or that's cheating, which Jacob and I talked about earlier today. But the problem is the person who adapts to use a tool that allows them to produce faster and more consistently than anybody else wins the money around that tool. So in my eyes, like AI is something I have to crack for my agency. And we use it a lot right now. But we're still babies at it, to be honest. If you call my office right now, you will get an AI answering voice person. And then it asks you, do you have anybody you're looking for? No? Are you interested in services? It's a menu system without you having to wait for the menu. So it's cool. Not officially. Like it's like when I told my graphic designers, like, hey guys, we need to start really leaning into and using AI where it makes sense. They bristled. I was like, too bad. Like, we still have to figure this out because there's a medium, right? The best data we get are the feedback from the clients more than anything else. Honestly, out of running ads with AI imagery in them, I haven't seen a single person push back on it yet. But we also, like we haven't had like a single like person that we've advertised to be like, leave a comment on Facebook and be like, this AI crap is driving us nuts, right? So instead, what I've cautioned my team about is AI has to maintain humanity. Like, and I've kicked back things because we had somebody holding like some pipes, and I was like, those aren't real pipes. Those are fake pipes. All the plumbers will know it. Also, this pipe defies reality in a way that this ad is not calling out, so it's too far. We have to go back and make a different image. AI is going to change a lot for us. Okay, so here, my brother, after he left Fairbanks, went to Florida, started a pressure washing company. We did the brand and we do the advertising. These are billboards that he bought. And so it might be hard for you guys to read this, but the first one says, your house called, it wants a bath, because he washes houses, right? The second one goes, your mom says we're awesome. That's it, right? These are just billboards on the road. So he has 4 of these in a row on a highway in Florida. And I talked to him today and he was like, it's working. His calls are going up. And do you think it would be nearly as captivating if he just said like, dude wash, pressure washing for your home, call us today? No. Bingo. You got it. So I'm a huge fan of using humor.
How much did those billboards cost?
So I think it's $6,000 a month. If he wants to change, that's not very expensive, to be honest. There's scales by which you deal with marketing. But about $6,000 a month. If he wants to change the creative, I think it's $1,500 to swap out the creative on a billboard because they have to reprint the whole thing. Here's what I counseled them was: run 3 months of what you have, $6,000 a month. Then once a month after that, you change one of the 4 billboards at a time with another funny caption. Does anybody drive by the Bible Baptist Church sign and always wonder what it's going to say? Okay, it used to be funnier when I was a kid, but like that sign changes all the time. Now, okay, what if that sign said stuff like those billboards, right? So what it does, it trains the audience to, oh, I wonder if there's a new one. Now you're incentivized to pay attention because the entertainment was worth it. So I tell this to clients all the time. There is value in being entertaining while advertising. People pay all the time through the nose, if you look at Taylor Swift concert ticket prices, for entertainment. It is valuable. So if you take your business and you wrap entertainment into it, you're actually giving back to the market. All right, so this also goes into some of this. Here's some social media examples that you're going to love. But before I show them to you, I need you to understand one thing. Stop posting about your services. Just stop it. Because most people aren't going to care about them because they don't need a plumber today. And so instead of posting about services, I want you to do this. Pivot your messaging on being hilarious and interesting because that's an awesome presence in the social media feed. Messages like this: the Buddy System install package, or the truth about plumbers and their beards. These are going to have the effect that you need on social media because you're delightful, you're interesting, and you're worth paying attention to. You see, it builds connection, and connection builds relationships, and relationships build revenue. Marketing for plumbers is what I do. Follow me for more. I figured that video just said it very faster because I wrote it. So, does that make sense?
What's with you and beards?
Yeah, I got a thing, don't I? Well, I don't know. So, honestly, one of the best things about plumbers is they all like they're a lot of them have very big beards, and a lot of them are very proud of their very big beards. And to some degree, my current beard exists because I have a market of beard-focused plumbers that I try and market to. So I'm going to dress the part if they're going to be my customer. So, but yeah, beards are a thing in ad land for plumbers and Alaskans in general, right? So, okay, there's another one. Okay, so Thanksgiving. A lot of things around Thanksgiving are like holiday plumbing issues are a big deal. Claim 50% off your plumbing inspection. You click this, you go to a landing page to claim an offer, okay? That's how this funnel works. But I could have just said, before Thanksgiving, claim this offer. That's no fun. What if I have a turkey saying, you got bigger problems than I do? It's simple. And this is AI, because I don't have a turkey that'll hold a sign, and that penmanship is better than my own. So, all right, this one's the fun one. So, because we were talking about AI, I put this in at the last second. No, but it kind of comes off that way. So, this entire video was made on my phone utilizing AI tools and CapCut. That's it. So everything you see and hear is done with AI aside from the logo.
Oh, the Mammoth Plumbers here. No more chaos, no more fear. Pipes will sing and drains will cheer. The Mammoth Plumbers here.
So I made that to give to my staff and just dropped it in our chat and was like, here guys, look what we can do. They had about the same reaction you guys did. Which is like, oh, this is hilarious. Oh my God, what's happening? So would anybody use that plumber?
It looks like the beginning of a horror movie.
Exactly. Really, what ended up happening is I got tired of generating more shots for the video because it does take 2 different tools to do that. And then I was like, well, I'll just slow them down. No, I'll slow this one down. And then I'll zoom in. Well, that looks creepy. Let me just change the music to match. But that gives you an idea of where AI is going. I would not even be able to do that 6 months ago. And now I can. So what I'm toying around with is, sure, it doesn't work now, but will it work in 6 months in a way that a customer will actually accept? Or even better, in a way that my customers' customers will accept. And when we reach that, the uncanny valley doesn't matter so long as you wrap enough like humor around it. So, but again, the fact that I could do that on my phone is bonkers. Okay. So in general, if you're looking at getting into marketing, these are kind of the positions that I have at my agency, and occasionally we hire for these, right? And I do have more that like I want down the road, and the roles change, the skill sets change, but strategists help build overall strategy. Brand specialists build out like logos and van wraps and things like that. Graphic designers work on Facebook ads and Google Display, postcards. Web designers, you know what those do. Web developers are the people who run the code behind the website. Copywriters write. Media buyers are the ones who go into platform, into Facebook Ad Manager, or into Google's what we call an MCC account. But basically, you go and you set up the campaigns, and they're very complex. And then data analysts, somebody to like take all the data and go, what's happening? And do we like what's happening? And if we don't, what do we do to make what's happening something we do like? And kind of the main skills around all of this, I would put in these categories. There's some more like hard skills you could theoretically put in here. I didn't quite finish this slide, so it's a little half-baked. But if any of you are interested in marketing as like a career path, the best thing you can do is start writing yesterday. Writing is the one skill that most marketers don't have. And it's the one skill that every marketer should have, in my opinion, because the writing is what makes things captivating, right? So your whole goal with marketing is to have an influence on somebody else. And so you have to engineer that by being persuasive. And that starts with the writing, and then it becomes about the execution, and then about where you put that execution in front of the right people to have the effect that you want. And for most companies, what they want to have happen is sales, but they aren't doing it in a captivating or entertaining fashion. And so the only other thing they do is spend more money because they aren't captivating, so they have to get the same amount of attention just by sheer repetition, which matters, but boring marketing costs more money to run, is what it comes down to. Okay. One of the best things I ever did was I became a jack of all trades. I can do almost everything in the agency, and I have been able to for years, even when before I owned it, okay? I picked up skills along the way, not even realizing that I was building like a marketing library of skills. That was accidental, but fortunate. But I became a jack of all trades. But you do have to collect like some that you truly master. For me, the early ones that I mastered were writing and making video. Those were the early ones. And like now, I would say that you could probably put in there more about influence and strategy because I've had to work at those in order to work on the agency. Okay. If you guys want to like dig around and find more of my like stuff, some weird, some not, a lot of it's talking to plumbers. This is where you do it. I have a personal brand site because that's how most of my marketing works, is as me. And then the agency has its own site too, which kind of is talking directly to those plumbers to try and get them into services. So any questions? Because I like questions.
For marketing, what's like the best way to get into it out of high school? Like, go to college, or is it like just like marketing to go?
So, okay, so what do I look for? Might be different than what other people look for. College is useful at teaching you some very good foundations. But honestly, when somebody comes to me through college, there's still a lot of training that has to be done. So like I have a bunch of marketing textbooks that are used in colleges on my desk, like they're right next to my desk. And as I thumb through those, they help reinforce a lot of the foundations. So I don't want to say like, yeah, don't go to college. Like I do think that that is a path by which you get a really good foundational knowledge, but expect a lot of gaps in what is usable knowledge on the back end immediately that honestly you should totally just try and learn anyway. But the best way to start is just by doing. You're in high school right now, right? Go talk to a bunch of businesses about, hey, can I make some silly videos for you that you can put on social media? And guess what you're doing? You're building a portfolio. And that's what I look at most is I want to see portfolio pieces because I want to know how your brain works within the psychology of the place. You might not understand like, well, what's important and as far as like the fundamentals and how it interacts with all the business at first, but that will get your reps in for making things. Somebody else had a question over here. Okay, you.
I got a few.
Yeah.
What was your favorite ad that you made?
Oh, my favorite? There's too many. The Mammoth Plumber one? No. So honestly, the one that comes to mind the most, Floorcraft. Do you guys know what Floorcraft is? Company in town, they sell flooring stuff. I made their ads for years, and they were opening up a new like line where you could go on your computer, put in the dimensions for your kitchen, and start designing your kitchen. Then you would take it into Floorcraft, and they would help you take it into reality, right? So it started with the owner, one of the owners, and it was a frame like this. I could find it somewhere, and he's sitting there and he's going like, you know what would be truly amazing is if you could just design your kitchen, and as he's talking, the frame is pulling backwards. So you're seeing more and more and more. And he's in one of these kitchens. And then we start to get to the point where we can see his knees, and you realize he's wearing a tie and a button down, but he's in his underwear. And it says, I mean, the concept is design your kitchen in your underwear. That's the point. So, and then it's all about, you can do this from anywhere. And so he's then in the showroom still with like Cookie Monster boxers. And we made the whole ad that way. That one was a lot of fun because Evan, who is one of the owners, is just, he's a ball to be around and make stuff with. Okay, you had more though, right?
Yes. Oh no, I accidentally. Oh wait, there it is. Okay. This one was. Which one was your favorite business to market for? Can I ask that?
Yeah. Honestly, the more I've leaned into plumbers, the more I like. I did enjoy Prospector the most, and we still do stuff for them, but now they're like roped into agencies. When it was just me marketing my brother's business, the cool thing was I had full creative control, and he had enough budget to be able to blast it out into the community. And so, like, we ran weird things. Like, we ran an ad that was like, oh no, you should call a plumber. And it was a picture of a house with a geyser coming out of the top of it and a toilet in a driveway and then like a bunch of debris around it. Like, those are super fun to do. And then you run it and then you start seeing all the comments and likes come in. So those feel good. Those are fun.
So you make ads a bunch. Do you make flyers too?
Mhm.
You sell billboards. Do you have any tips for the flyers?
Yeah, so we actually have been curating this for our clients. This is basically an ad library. I don't have very much on here right now for print, but I do have, if you take a look, some mailers. So basically, we use the Mammoth Plumber as a testing ground for us to create any creative we want, which allows me to play now, right? Like I don't make stuff for clients as much anymore. So I make them for the Mammoth Plumber, I give them to my staff and I say, cool, here's the standard, here's the template, go realize it for the client, however the client wants it realized. So this is one, and then this is another. And by the way, if you're going to run a mailer, one of the things that people don't do is tell people what to do with the mailer. Hold on to these offers and call us when you need us. A lot of plumbers run ads like this and they're like, we didn't get any calls. I was like, yeah, you got to wait for things to break. It's not like it happens immediately. So stick this on your refrigerator is another one that we've used. Cool. Any other questions?
Can you break down, so in your creative process, like your percentage to pre-production, like planning versus filming versus editing?
Like for video in particular?
In particular,
The thing with,
more of a percentage of time I spend 50% planning.
yeah, it depends on the piece, depends on what I'm going for. Sometimes it's really slapdash, but if it's something like there's been times where it's like take the Beard Max Transit bus ad. That one I actually sat down, I wrote the script. It's only 30 seconds. That's all you could do on TV. So then I ended up doing little storyboards, just sketches of what shots I wanted to have happen during what points of the voiceover, and started diving in. Can I make an eagle fly by the bus? That was a little bit of a gamble because I had to find a stock video source of an eagle, decide whether or not I could actually mask out the bus windows, put a plate behind it of the scenery going by. So it was tricky, but it worked. So that one I spent more time on. But in the grand scheme of things, even now, if I'm given like a narrative script, and this is just getting the reps in, it's just experience. I can close my eyes, kind of visualize what needs to happen, and just start shooting. And I know what kind of lighting I want to go for and things like that. So your mind's eye gets stronger the more you use it. So, any other questions?
How much would you like your ads? Like, I really like Super Bowl commercials and I bought Tele commercials and like a bunch of stuff that was that. How much like resources and like use your ads?
Are you asking how much they cost? So, so like right now, for the most part, it varies on, of course it varies depending on what we're trying to do. And I'm willing to throw some money at ads or at creative initiatives. Like I'm willing to pay for all these AI tools because we got to figure them out. But it depends on the ad, because there's been times where I'm like, oh no, I need decor. And I used to run over to Party Palace and like grab a bunch of weird stuff. And they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, just don't ask. And then I'd go and make my ad. But typically I try and keep so average television commercial, when we really stopped doing television commercials, would cost, like we would charge about $1,200 for it, okay? So now from that budget, I'm willing to spend a percentage on resources to make that thing happen, unless I think that thing can be a portfolio piece by which I'll get value later on down the road. That typically hovered at around 10 to 15%. I would go to 20 if I needed to, but I tried to maintain at least a 20% margin on all creative when I still had to pay for the editors. I still had staff involved and things like that. When it was just me, well, I didn't care. I would be like, well, it's going to cost me more, so I just bump up the price by marking up the props I needed to buy, which I do recommend. Like, just mark it up by 100%, because by the time you pay taxes on everything and do stuff, and you're driving back and forth, there's enough hidden costs where it's totally worth it for your customer to pay you for what you're trying to execute for them. So, how many of you are still interested in going into marketing? How many of you are more interested? How many of you are less interested? One. 2. You're like, oh no, my ice ball thing, yeah, I'm just ditching it. Well, all right. So I think we'll cap it there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So have a good one.
Tell you the tale of Tyler Williams, the marketing man.
Tyler was born in the northern globe, through icy winds and endless snow. One dark night, disaster came, a plumbing failure, a world in shame. Searching online, no ads in sight, no plumber answered in the endless night. The pipes burst wide, the earth gave way. Tyler's home was gone, his mother lost. With fists clenched tight to the frozen sky, Tyler made a vow, a marketing cry. Plumbers shall rise, their names shall stand. I will forge their fate with my own hand. Tyler Williams, the marketing man, with cosmic power, he built the plan. Fire in his eyes, campaigns in his hand. He builds lost plumbers across the land. From frozen wastes to city skies, plumbers thrive where legends rise. He roamed alone through ice and stone. The Alaskan wilds became his home. But cold winds whispered, his breath ran thin. He stumbled weak, his strength grew dim. Then through the storm, a shadow tall, a mighty mammoth, a titan's call. I am Mark, the marketing mammoth. Tyler, your time has come. I will teach you the cosmic secrets of persuasion and advertising, ancient marketing magic lost to time. Through my wisdom you shall rise, and the world will always find a plumber in their time of need. Tyler Williams, the marketing man, born of the wild with a mammoth plan. He bends the stars, he shapes the sky. For plumbers lost, he lifts them high. For 35 years through frost and fate, he studied with Mark, making marketing great. He grew 10 feet, his beard turned wild. With mammoth wisdom, no longer a child. His eyes burned green with northern light. His voice could shake the stars at night. Then Mark the mammoth raised his head, and to his pupil this is what he said. Tyler, you have mastered the ancient ways, the lost art of persuasion, the magic of marketing. Your time is now, the world is waiting. Plumbers live in darkness, but you shall be their light. Go forth, fly to their shops, make them known across the cosmos. Mark raised his tusks and split the sky. A portal opened, a world passed by. Through time, through space, a rift was torn, and Tyler Williams was reborn as the mythical, fabled, magical marketing man. Tyler Williams, the marketing man, born of the wild with a mammoth plan. He bends the stars, he shapes the sky. For plumbers lost, he lifts them high. Tyler Williams, the marketing man, bringing plumbers marketing out of the Stone Age. Good Lord, this song is a little much so stupid, but hey, you'll probably remember it.